Welcome to Grant Talks Funny Bits. Every week we have a technical issue. Hopefully this week is going to be the week when everything is going to go fine. I'm just checking things out on YouTube and Facebook. We have sound. Everything is good to go. So wherever you're watching us from in the world, whether you're in the States, whether you're in Europe, whether you're here in the UK, each week we bring you an expert stage hypnotist. And we've had a great variety of performers on recently as well, from people that have years and years and years of experience to people that are fairly new as well. For me, it's fascinating talking to Tony last week, who was very new to the business, but doing an absolutely fantastic show. So tonight, please make some noise, do that round of applause emoji. Now, if you're on YouTube, you may have noticed as well that we have a poll on how popular or how cool pocket watches are. This gentleman, tonight's guest, has a fantastic pocket watch in his promo picture, and it started a discussion about whether pocket watches are cool or not. So if you're on YouTube, please do let us know on that, and we'll try and find out at the end. So without further ado, it's going to appear on one of these sides here. Do get involved, do ask lots of questions, but please make him feel very welcome, the one, the only, Mr. Colin Chapman.
Thank you, Grant. How are you doing?
I am okay, just about. And there's the pocket watch.
And I showed up with this pocket watch, which also happens to be this pocket watch.
Wow! So that's a tattoo, a replica of your pocket watch.
This pocket watch, which is my everyday carry pocket watch,
nice.
And I use both in my shows.
Oh, that's cool. I love how you say your everyday carry pocket watch.
Absolutely.
It's like you've got your everyday one and one for special.
This is with me 24/7.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, a couple of quick hellos as well.
Richard, thank you guys for coming in. Roy, hello.
Got up to 40 degrees centigrade. There we go. It's yes. Oh,
can you translate that as well, American, please?
There we go, fantastic. and extra brownie points as well for the backdrop you've got behind you there. Yeah. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I am in the conference room at the co-working space I'm at, and this is the green room.
The green
room. I was supposed to be in a different room, and so I said, "Hey, I really need this room." It's like, "But just book me another room that has nice natural light, so that I might have some chance of looking pretty." I know not much of one, but you can dream.
Fantastic. So tell me about your work at the moment. I know here in the UK we've just had an announcement from our Prime Minister, and just as shows were getting back to normal, we've gone 6 steps backwards, and most shows are kind of stopped now. How are things where you are at the moment?
Here in Virginia, where I live, where everything is at, everything is open. I expect it is going to stay open. In the U.S., it's like 50 different countries, though. Yeah. We all got our own rules. And sometimes within those states, there are individual cities that have a little bit tighter restrictions or looser restrictions than others. And so I'm out there, I'm performing. I just did a show Sunday night. Yes, my head is not big enough. That's right. I do this one optical illusion to open my show where I use a hypnotic spiral.
Yeah.
And then I pull it away. Once I get people to stare at it for about 10 seconds, I say, "Now check out my sexy dad bod getting even bigger and bigger."
Yeah.
Now, what I was thinking of maybe doing is turning it the other way, pulling it away, and I say, "Now watch my head finally return to normal size."
Yeah. Brilliant. Oh, sorry, yeah. That's Natasha coming with the Grant comments, bless it. Yeah, I love the hypnotic spiral at the beginning of a show. Again, it's the same as the pocket watch. It kind of plays with people's preconceptions of what to expect from a hypnosis show. So yeah, I love spirals, love pocket watches. It's a mixed bag, and I think it's mainly amongst hypnotherapists. Even though we had Kaz Riley on a couple of weeks ago, and she's a big fan of pocket watches. She's got a whole collection of them. But I think a lot of hypnotherapists kind of look at the stereotypes of hypnosis and think that it makes us all look bad. But I think things like pocket watches, spirals. I used to have a little goatee beard. I've kind of gone for the full beard now because the goatee made me look like a bit like a predator, to be honest. I look back at pictures when I just had that and I'm like, what were you thinking? But again, it's working with people's preconceptions about it. It makes it easier, I think, for people to accept us as hypnotists from those things.
Absolutely. When I first started out on the clinical side of hypnosis, my other hypnotists who were also on the clinical side hated stage hypnosis. They hated everything about stage hypnosis. And it's like, those guys make us look bad. And then I went to a stage hypnosis show. And it's like, I want to do what that guy just did with a clinical client.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like if he can make some 31-year-old African-American man saying "You ain't nothing but a hound dog" by Elvis Presley and have it sound exactly like Elvis Presley. And I'm so old that I actually remember hearing Elvis Presley on the radio growing up singing that. So it's like, and there's this kid who did this, he couldn't have had that same, but he had some kind of knowledge of it. And it's like, it was pitch perfect. It was awesome. And it's like, hey, if he can go up on stage and in front of 350 strangers, make that happen, what can I do in the therapy room?
Yeah. And I think it's such an important point that, and this is no slight to any hypnotherapist or anything like that, but there's a lot of people that go through the hypnotherapy training, but without that drama that you get on stage when you go, when this happens, you're going to do this. It's win or lose. It's either going to work or it's not. In therapy, a lot of therapists are very plinky plonky, softly, whale noise, very gentle. And the fear of actually testing the hypnosis stops them from getting profound results. And I think having that drama from the stage and bringing that to the therapy room, it makes it more profound. People go away going, shit, something dramatic, something profound has happened.
Absolutely.
You know, whereas a lot of people, I feel, in therapy, yes, they may have experienced hypnosis, but they didn't know they experienced hypnosis, which undoes the hypnosis work that they've done. So, yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
Yeah, one of the parts of my journey that has happened on the clinical side of my business is quite simply that I've started using a lot more instant inductions on the clinical side. And it's for exactly the reason that you said. And it allows people to just get their minds blown and say, okay, something wild just happened here.
Yeah.
And so if I can go to Never Never Land in less than 30 seconds, maybe this guy can help me help myself break free that 2-pack a day smoking habit.
Yeah.
That seems impossible.
Yeah. And I think you're right then again about the rapids. I think a lot of people, again, my opinion, a lot of people that come to therapy with, you know, an overactive thought process, anxiety, thinking fast all the time. And a rapid cuts through that rather than talking about, you know, whale noises in the background and feeling relaxed for 20 minutes. So, yeah. So it's always nice to go off on a tangent. What was your first experience of hypnosis in general? You know, how did you discover it?
So I am sitting where I am right now, completely and totally by accident. I had never really given any thought to hypnosis. I can tell you there's no version of my life story when I was growing up where I said, I'm going to be a fireman, an astronaut, or a hypnotist. Okay, that thought never occurred.
Yeah.
I was in sales, and my mentor told me, Colin, you need to go out and study everything you can about neuro-linguistic programming because all modern sales training is based on that. And so I said, okay, what is neuro-linguistic program? I can't even pronounce it right. And he goes in this 5-minute long dissertation using nothing but jargon and buzzwords. And my eyes are glazing over. I'm like, James, you know me better than that by now to know. I need you to explain it to me like I'm 7 years old.
Yeah.
25 words or less, using only English, American English, just to be clear here, when I speak. And he, okay, I got to get back to you on that one. Now, this is like 13, 14 years ago that this conversation took place. But he was my mentor, so I started dating. So I found this one guy I went to college with who I actually had remembered. You know, he did say something to me about neuro-linguistic programming. Said, what is it? He said, oh, that's simple. And we can agree or disagree with this definition. It had an impact on changed my life. He said, all neuro-linguistic programming is it is hypnotic suggestion without the formal induction into trance.
Yeah.
At that moment, I said, hypnosis? That actually sounds like some Chuck Norris level badassery right there.
Yeah.
So since James had blew me off, I figured I get to blow him off too. That's only fair. So I go on the version of Amazon that existed 13, 14 years ago, which was very different. It was a bookstore, all right? Yeah. That's all it was a bookstore. And I bought hundreds of dollars worth of hypnosis books, read them cover to cover. Today, there are countless videos on YouTube for hypnosis. There were not at that time. Yeah. However, I was able to use Google and track down a bunch of hypnotists. And so I call them, email a bunch of them, and I ask them for videos of some of their stuff. And I ended up with a dozen videos. People who'd never met me before sent them to me. Because I basically said, look, I'm really interested in this. I'm fascinated. I want to learn more. And people were very, very generous. And, you know, that really moves me to this day. And so I read all these books cover to cover, some of them more than once. The big one that really kind of hit home for me was Michael Stevenson, I think it's How to Hypnotize Anyone. I can't remember. Hey there, Fraser. And then I watch all these videos, and then at slow times at work, I started doing street hypnosis with my coworkers. And I would go to a coffee shop and just start talking to people. And I would say things like, can I ask you a question? It's like, okay. Total strangers. You know, maybe we'd already started. It's like, would you like to see something cool? It's like, okay. I was like, have you ever been hypnotized before? And they say, no. You can do that? It's like, yeah, I sure can. I'm a hypnotist. Now I was completely and totally bullshitting, which Fraser will tell you that, oh, that is totally unlike me. And I did not believe that I could hypnotize total strangers, but it's like, you know what? I see the videos, read the books, why not?
Yeah.
And I would hypnotize people. And so I have this little secret underground hobby that I keep hidden from my family. They don't know anything about it at all. Okay, it's like totally underground. Because I was like, I didn't even know how to talk to people about hypnosis that I like are in my life. And then I started playing around with self-hypnosis. And I did that for fun, basically. Okay, can we create the effect of cannabis with hypnosis? That would be interesting. And yes, you can. And it doesn't pop up on a drug test and get you at the time arrested. It was a hell of a lot less expensive. Yes, artistic license. Thank you, Fraser. And so I said, you know what? Let me use this to do something about my 2-pack a day smoking habit. I did, and it stuck. And I knew it stuck when she's now 21. She's about 8, 9 years old at the time. Daughter, she's very precocious, gave me this very heartfelt letter saying, hey, I know how hard that was for you. I'm really proud of you and I love you. And at that moment, I knew, I'm never giving that letter back.
Yeah.
Secondly, it was my aha moment, my road to Damascus moment, if you're okay with that metaphor. I realized, you know what? I think I can actually help people with this, not just blow minds and get laughs. And so I go to my wife and I sit down and say, honey, this is going to be the craziest thing you've ever heard. And I told her, okay, I've been doing this, and I've decided that I would like to go get certified as a hypnotist and open a practice. It took me about 15 minutes to lay everything out, confess that I had this secret hobby, and she does not interrupt me once. She does not say a word. She just stares at me the whole time. And I think, oh my God, she is going to murder me in my sleep. And then I finish. It's like, okay, that's what I wanted to say. She goes, you're absolutely right. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard. It is also all you. You need to go do this.
Yeah.
If you do this, this, and this, I will support you doing this. And I've been doing that now for 11 years. And me going on stage is really me coming full circle, because in my world, all street hypnosis is just stage hypnosis that doesn't pay you.
Yes. It's an interesting point. I have especially here in the UK, it's a bit different, and I do have kind of like a love-hate relationship with street hypnosis. I think street hypnosis is great to get a lot of people good practice in doing hypnosis, and especially that breaking those barriers and talking to strangers, and it's a really good, it ups your game as such. But I think a lot of street hypnotists fail. That's a strong word, fail. But the transition from a one-to-one or a small street environment onto the stage, it becomes a different ball game as such. And I think a lot of street hypnotists can't transition to be good entertainers on stage. And the same thing for hypnotherapists sometimes. I think hypnotherapists try to do too much therapy on stage and not so much entertaining on it. But then again, that's not a blanket statement. People like yourself transition really well.
Yeah, and what I would say is that how I use street hypnosis today is that if I'm constantly working on new material. Every show I do, my intent is to bring in one routine I have never done before.
Wow.
Which it's more work than I'm required to do.
Yeah.
It keeps me fresh.
Yeah.
It's pushing, and that, yeah, I love that part of it, and so it gives me a chance where I can play around with this suggestion, that suggestion, see, okay, how should I really be working? And the other thing is that the performing side, I can't believe they pay me anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. And but they do, and I haven't turned any money down before.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a lot. It is pure joy.
Yeah.
For me to do that.
Tell me about the first stage show. You've done the street stuff. You've done your stuff. Your first time on stage. Tell us about that.
Okay, so let's talk about the first show after I was formally trained.
Yeah.
Because before that, I did some things in front of groups where I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And it's like I was breaking all kinds of rules. Like everybody had fun. In case, bachelorette party, maybe too much fun. But it's... it's like I didn't know what I was doing. So in late 2019, I became a part of Michael C. Anthony's Stage Hypnosis University. That's something that Fraser is also part of.
Yeah.
And I, had the opportunity to do some small little things and play around with it. And then I did something once again, because I'm me, totally and completely insane. I went out there and I got a venue and I four-walled a show.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what? I want to make sure that we don't get snowed out. And so I picked the date based on that. And I managed to sell 250 tickets for the show. It was very, very profitable. And on March 11th, 2020, the National Basketball Association announced that one of their players, a guy by the name of Rudy Gobert, had tested positive for the Rona and that they were shutting down their entire season. My show was scheduled 2 nights later for Friday, March 13th. And I knew, you know what? I'm nowhere near as big and as bad as the NBA. If they can't hang, I need to pull back here. Yeah. I also realized at that point, it's like, I got to live with myself. If I even think there's a possibility that somebody came to one of my shows and they got sick, I didn't, or worse, yeah. I wouldn't be, it's like that. I don't need that. Yeah. And so we reschedule it. If we'd rescheduled it a fourth time, it would have been over a year. And so I made a really painful financial decision. That was completely cancel the show and give everybody their money back. That was 250 tickets with an average ticket price of $25 each. Okay. Now that hurt. Yeah. Believe me, that hurt. Plus I had all the other expenses getting there. And what I can do though is I get the opportunity now to make more money. I don't have the opportunity to make more reputation.
Yeah.
And so it sucked. I'm happy with the choice that I made.
Yeah.
So we were shut down pretty hard. I had a show that was really, really small venue. We had 70 tickets for it. And this was my first real show. And at the time, it was highly illegal. What we did is for the venue we used a fraternal order police lodge on the theory that the cops are not going to bust and shut down their own clubhouse.
Yeah,
because cops like to drink. Okay, I'm sure it's different in Great Britain, but it's like in America, yeah. When you've met a cop, you've met an alcoholic. Okay, that's exaggeration, possibly. And the other thing is, we called it the peaceful protest for comedy hypnosis.
Love it. Love it.
And so we got away with it. The only thing is that we were expecting 70 people there, and we had 16 show up.
Oh.
And that had me on my heels. I still ended up getting, out of those 16, I ended up getting 6 of the 16 to volunteer. And we got some really cool stuff happen on the show. One of the really fun parts was my favorite stage hypnotist of all time is the late, great Jay Medicine Hat. And yeah. I love Jay Medicine Hat because he started with comedy first. That was his first focus. And then it was the hypnosis piece.
Yep.
And I aspire to be at that kind of mindset. Every time right before I walk out on the stage, I tell myself, as soon as your foot hits that stage, you are now an entertainer. You are no longer a hypnotist.
Yeah.
And the entertaining part is job one.
Yeah.
So he had this one routine where it's a spelling bee, and he gives people one word and they will spell something really naughty. And so I do the Jay Medicine Hat Memorial Spelling Bee as an homage to Jay Medicine Hat, because he's no longer around to do that bit.
Yeah.
But it's comedy gold. And so this is a way that I remember Jay Medicine Hat. And so this was done in a Navy town. And so I go up to one of my volunteers and it's like, Ashley, the word that I need you to spell is harpoon. Harpoon. And she says, P-E-N-I-S. Absolutely fantastic, Ashley. You got it perfect. Now, if you could please use the word you just spelled in a sentence. She looks me dead in the eye and she says, your penis is beautiful. And this is one of those moments that I'll always have with me. There's something like this happens almost every show where something a volunteer does, I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Okay, should I have expected some craziness? Yeah, but it's like, I did not see that one coming. And that's what makes this so entertaining.
Yeah. It's one of the weird jobs, especially as an entertainer, where there's so many variables, those volunteers on stage, that, you know, no matter how long you've been doing it, every now and then they can just catch you off guard. And it's a great routine, that as well. I have a version of it that was gifted to me from a friend via Michael Johns. That is a great piece. And Michael, if you're watching, thank you for that. And guys, it's always good to, as well as write your own comedy, to speak to experts that are good writers of comedy, that understand you and can get that done. It's the same as, I'm a big believer in hiring professionals to do a professional job, and sometimes getting a comedy writer, a stage technician to talk to you about lighting, getting experts in to help you fine tune and tweak those bits really does make it's the difference that makes the difference. So yeah, fantastic. But yeah, that's it. That is a great routine. So I mean, you said then about four-walling the show and doing 250 tickets. That's a great thing, because a lot of people with hypnosis, when they start doing shows, they'll just take bookings. They don't understand the importance of marketing the show, selling the tickets, hiring the venues, putting in that real legwork that people on the night, when they turn up, all they see is the stage and the show. They don't realize the work that goes in behind. That must have been some a learning curve for you. Is there anything you picked up from that?
It absolutely was a huge learning curve. There were things that I started off on the right path with. There are other things that I found out just what an idiot I really am. Okay, it's like, it's all feedback. There is no failure. I learned from the whole thing.
Yeah.
The show that I did last week at Sandman Comedy Club, which is actually about 2 blocks from where I'm sitting right now, that show happened because I made a commitment to network locally. And I went to a show at Sandman Comedy Club with one of my favorite comedians headlining. And I'd been sitting there, because the previous acts had not gotten a chance to get away to go to the bathroom. And then about 15 minutes into her act, I realized I really got to pee. And it's like, and this is a woman who's really good at roasting people. And it's like, so I'm going to hold it. And I realized a few minutes later, no, something bad's going to happen either way. I'm just going to get out of here as discreetly as I can. And it's like, I'll pay the price when I get back. So I sneak out of there. I come back. I'm crawling down. And as soon as my butt hits the chair, Liz Miley says, "You know what happens when you decide to take a piss in the middle of my show, don't you?" And then I just played along. I leaned into it. And she goes, and I don't know what I can't recall what the language standards are on the show, but I'll just abbreviate.
Okay.
She goes, "What the F does your shirt say?" I had just come from a networking event where I was wearing this shirt that says Hypnosis is amazing in big gold letters above the pocket. It says Hypnosis is amazing. It's like, you're a hypnosist? It's like, yes, I'm a hypnotist. And she goes, ladies and gentlemen, we have a scam artist with us tonight. And then she roasts me for the next 5 minutes. Now, I had gone to that show hoping to set up a process that by the first of the year, I get to meet the owner of the club, Michael Sands. She roasts me. Show ends. We're heading out the door. Somebody grabs me by the arm, and it's Sandman, Michael Sands. He says, so you really are a hypnotist? Like, yeah. And we talked for 20 minutes. I figured, you know what? Screw my elaborate 3-month-long plan. He's here. I'm here. It's like, Michael, I absolutely love your club. There's so many cool things you've done here. I would love to bring a stage hypnosis show here. He says, okay, email me. Let's do it. Tuesday, I had a contract. By Thursday, we had a done deal.
Fantastic.
And so that's how it's like. And then to sell the tickets to that show, I leverage every bit of my network I have here in this local community. And I've also come to the belief that, like, look, if somebody, it's like, I would love to come go overseas on ships, and get away to do shows that far away profitably. However, there is an awful lot more, it's a lot easier to make stage hypnosis profitable when you're close enough you're going to get to sleep in your own bed at night.
Absolutely.
And so I've been working very, very hard to fully leverage my network here to get new shows, get tickets sold for the shows that I'm booked for. Yeah. Fraser asked whether I would rather do the door split or four-walling.
Yeah.
And it depends. When you've got a great club owner like Michael Sands, where he is, he sets the door split up in such a way that we're both incentivized.
Yeah.
It's like that's the way to go. When we are still in the pandemic-ish era that we're in, I don't want to be the producer of a show right now.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just don't want to.
It's a great question, Fraser. Thank you for that. And it's exactly what you said then about you had a local show and you leveraged your network. People don't understand how much energy it takes to put on a show and sell tickets. So when you're four-walling, and the trainers are to blame for this sometimes, because stage hypnosis is sold as stage hypnosis is so unique. You turn up at anywhere in the world and everyone will be like, oh my God, there's a stage hypnotist, and they'll buy tickets. The reality is, if Beyonce's got to promote her tour, if Michael Jackson had to promote his tour, then Colin and Grant, we've got to really promote our tour. And no slate to any hypnotists out there. There's so much shit that some people have seen, a show and it's been terrible. And then you're trying to convince them to buy tickets to see a show. So there's a lot of work involved to do that, to four-wall a show. For me, venues on a split, like you said, everyone involved is incentivized to make that work. The venue has, if they sell more tickets, they get more money. Four walls, I've done four walls in some lovely venues, but you're just a room hire. The organizer of that place, they're not going to sell tickets for you. And I've seen other hypnotists be challenged by this because they expect that because it's a nice venue, they'll do all the work. And it's like, you've got to be in the streets, handing out flyers, screaming and shouting from the rooftops, and working 10 times harder than booking. So for me, a door split or a booking fee is the way. I have 3-4 walls that I do, but I've done them for years, and I've built that reputation in those venues. 2 of those 4 walls, I don't make profit, but I get good videos and I get good assets from it. So that's my takeaway from it. But yeah.
Yeah, the other piece that is a key part of my business model is doing events as fundraisers for charities.
Yeah.
And those fundraisers make good money for the charity. They are also profitable for my business.
Yeah.
And that one's also kind of a split kind of deal. And I get something from the aspect that, okay, one of my big ones that I do is the Beacon Tree Foundation, and they're a youth mental health charity. That, you know, I know I'm doing something good, more than just getting people to laugh that night. And so that's meaningful. It looks like I'm going to be doing one 2022 for something called Backpacks of Love that helps children with food insecurity.
Wow.
And it's like, look, if, every $1,250 that we raise, that's going to feed 1,000 kids.
Wow.
That's 1,000 meals.
Wow.
Okay, so it's like, this is bigger than us.
Yeah, and if you can use, like you just said, then we're not just making people laugh. If you can use what we do in order to do good, and here's the thing that people forget about charities, and I'm not dismissing charity work. If you're helping a charity raise money, and they're raising good money because of it, then there's nothing wrong in you earning money from that. Here in the UK, I don't know about in the US, but I get lots of calls from charities wanting me to do free shows for exposure. And I have 2 charities that I'll do free shows for. The rest, it's like, well, the last fundraiser I did created this amount of money for the charity, and I made this amount of money. So in that sense, it's a win-win for the charity and for the performer as well. But yeah, there's lots of performers that get caught up in that cycle of doing free shows. So yeah.
I'm not saying I would never do a free charity event. It would have to be something really, unique for me to go there.
The 2 that I do, the 2 shows that I do, again, it's not a free show. I donate my fee back to the charity at the end of the night. So then I get the oh, Grant's so wonderful, and the niceness from it. But then they get to see the value in that as well. I tend to find that if people don't pay for a show, then they don't value the show, and it has a negative effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So brilliant.
Same reason why on the clinical side, I learned early on. Those are the free ones that you really want to help somebody out so much that you're doing it for free. Those are the ones that I got killed on.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the absolute rule in hypnosis. Interesting, you said earlier about you had a sales background before you came into the therapy and stuff. There's certain professions that I think just do so well for hypnosis. Magic, there's a lot of magicians that make the transition into hypnosis and do really well, because I think they learn the outs and the language patterns that when a trick's not going that way, they can go that way. And sales is another great one for exactly what you said. It's about those language patterns and the influence and all of those things. So, I mean, I don't even know how many of these live streams now, but the people that are successful tend to come from these types of backgrounds. So, yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts? How did you find the transition going from a salesman to a hypnotist?
It was something that I needed to do at the time, and I needed to do it because just selling stuff, shoving a $250,000 piece of German steel onto the street might have been a lot of fun. I might have made a lot of money. It left me empty. And I needed to do something that was going to make more of a difference.
Yeah.
And I knew that hole was inside of me. And so I was searching, and then I just, it just stumbled onto it.
It's so great that you say that. There's so many people that go through life with that hole, that they find things to distract them and distract themselves from that feeling, because they've either not healed themselves or they've not found where they want to be. And it's important to do that. And sorry, I just have to comment as well on Richard Cole's comment. Says, when you want to do those free shows, find a sponsor to pay your fee and get them the exposure at the event. Absolutely. Spot on, Richard Cole. It's not bad for a Canadian, you know. Richard is an absolutely fantastic guy as well. A lovely guy and a gentleman. Natasha says she's talking about me. Juliana Chase says, I don't know what that is. That could be anything. Who knows? We had someone once get past the algorithms of the software and put some letters and numbers in a very creative way to put a very rude word. So you've got to be nervous sometimes. So tell us about the biggest. I mean, that refunding 250 people sounds like a big challenge. But yeah, what has been, if that's not it, what has been the biggest challenge for you within that so far, and what have you learned from it?
I think the biggest challenge that I've had is that in business, my entire life in business, is that planning ahead has been key. Yeah. Well, since March of 2020, we can't predict. It's like, I was making business decisions earlier this year.
Yeah.
Let's say maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. And by time I was eating dinner, the decision was already up in smoke.
Yeah.
Because something else had happened. And so being unable to plan. When you are doing entertainment, it is like taking off in a great big giant plane. You got to get rolling down the runway really, really fast in order to take off. And I'm just now getting that speed. And I've got and Fraser asked earlier, what's 2022 look like?
Yeah.
Sandman Comedy Club is now a monthly gig for me.
Brilliant.
I have 3 other shows between now and the end of January going on.
Interesting question, and I'm not teaching my grandma to suck eggs. Is the Sandman like the first regular show, if you know what I mean, in that sense, regular repeated venue?
Yes.
I have 2 that I work, and it's every week for quite a few years now, in season, so it's not all year. And I was very conscious of changing the show up all the time, because I didn't want the same people, not so much the audience, because the audience is new all the time. It's the staff that work the venue that's the same, and you don't want them being bored of the show. I learned after 5 years in one venue that it doesn't matter about the skits. It's the pre-talk at the beginning, because the staff and the management are listening to the show and they hear the same pre-talk. Now, even though the show was dramatically different in parts, the manager at the end of the season has gone, "Do you want to mix it up a bit next season?" And I'm like, "But I mix it up every season." And so I now try and change my pre-talk around and have different things in that, just for that same thing. So yeah, it's weird, because as performers, we want to work to the audience. And as hypnotists, our show, as far as the audience is concerned, our show starts when the skits start. But it's not. Our show starts from the moment we walk out. They hear that same thing. So that's just
Absolutely.
Putting that out there.
Absolutely. No, it's a really, really interesting point. There's one hypnotist who I saw at a fair, and he would county fair up here, he was talking really, really fast, so fast that it was difficult for people to really understand him. And I ended up later in the summer meeting a friend of his, and he says, he just has it on autopilot.
Yeah.
And he's burned out.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was kind of like a smack in the head saying, hey, you better be keeping it fresh for you too.
Yeah. You know what? You're absolutely right. You know, when you're not pushing yourself, when you're not excited about it. I mean, I got into stage hypnosis from a fear of public speaking. And so even now, after however many years it's been, I still have those nerves before I go on stage, and I'm still excited about it. And I still have a massive love for stage hypnosis. It is an absolute passion. So Natasha Stanley says he's careful not to name names.
Oh, I can name names and kick ass when I want to, Natasha.
She says, have you ever performed at the Funny Bone?
No. The Funny Bones, most of them are not currently open.
Oh.
They have not. The one here in Richmond, there are people who are questioning whether it's ever coming back. That entire franchise has just been hammered.
Yeah.
They are a third of the size that they were in terms of who's operating.
Wow.
What they were before the pandemic. And so I don't know what's going to happen with the chain itself. I don't know what's going to happen with those individual facilities. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, across the world, the hospitality, entertainment venues, it's been horrific. And a lot of the management that are in these venues, that what I found is venues that I've worked with for years, and my contact at that venue for years has been that person. That person got let go at the beginning of the pandemic, now works as an insurance salesperson in a call center because it's reliable, regular, safe, secure work. And so the hospitality industry is losing good management, losing good staff. So, but it's not all doom and gloom. Hopefully, fresh blood will come into that, and people will need to be entertained. So, yeah. I died a little when Jay Madison Hat died.
Oh, I'm right there with you, Natasha. I'm right there with you. You know, he's definitely one of those comedy gods of mine who are no longer with us. That I'm not ashamed to admit. I definitely had some tears on that one. Yeah. And Fraser, thank you so much for those kind words earlier. I really that means a lot coming from you, because you've got some real motivation, ambition, and entertainment chops, and I can't wait to see the albino hypnotist on stage in person sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly as well, I'll just put up a link here to this is a link to your website.
Yes.
Hypnosis is amazing. That'll appear in the comment section as well. Please do check out that website. Check out Colin's social medias, his Facebook and his website as well. Hypnosis is amazing. The comment section are there as well. Natasha says the McDonald's drive-through skit is legendary. So I always ask guests as well for book recommendations.
Yes. And I gave you 2 book recommendations.
Yep.
One is Sean Michael Andrews' Street Hypnosis book. I got to do Sean's instant rapid induction course at Hypnothoughts Live last year. It was a pre-conference course, and that course got me put into a COVID protocol. Because while I didn't get sick, I was exposed, and so then all kinds of crazy things. Everybody in that class was exposed, and all kinds of crazy things happened. However, even if I had gotten the Rona, that class was so awesome, it would have been worth it.
Exactly.
It's like I do some things on instant inductions that are little bit different than what Sean would be comfortable with, because I might like the showmanship part where it's like some really big movements, and maybe sometimes people end up on the ground somehow. You know, oh my God.
This is a thing. Like, this is like one of the, you know, so we have some things in common and some things that divide us. Like putting people on the floor, US side, seems to be like a massive taboo. Like, I don't get it. I posted a video I don't post in the forums much, but I posted this video that I thought was a great example of of the end of my show. They all get laid on the floor. I do it in a drop back as well, but at the end of the show, everybody ends up on the floor. But it's a very soft, nice, gentle end to the show. It always gets a standing ovation when they end up on the floor. I posted this in the group to show people. And oh my God, I was getting private messages from people telling me if I ever landed in the US, they would shoot me, they would beat me up. How dare I be so disrespectful? And it's like, wow, you're missing the point of everything I'm showing you. So I don't.
Yeah, if Kaz Riley watches this, I know that she will appreciate this. Now that you have explained to me that it is taboo for me to put people on the floor, I'm just going to do it even more.
Yeah, it has such a dramatic effect.
Yeah,
it convinces everybody. Yeah, I'm a big believer in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also, you know, it's physical comedy.
Yes.
It's physical comedy.
And I think that's what people forget sometimes on stage. It's about movement. It's about seeing them dance. It's about seeing them fall. It's visual. Yeah.
And the other piece that it does is that if let's say I am in the audience and I've never seen a hypnosis show before, and I think this is all bullshit. Yeah. And somebody that I know is up on stage, and all of a sudden I watch them drop to the floor.
Yeah.
I now got some religion.
Yeah.
Okay. I just became a believer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the second book I gave you is by a guy by the name of Scott Dickers, one of the co-founders of The Onion, called How to Write Funny.
Yeah.
This basically, and you can get the entire 3-book set. You can just get the first book if you want to save a few bucks. They're not that expensive, either in print or electronic book. One of the things that is worth its weight in gold is a cheat sheet for using Scott's 11 funny filters. That you basically use that to craft your jokes, or in my case, craft my bits. It's like my favorite funny filter, shock. Okay, it's like, what can I tell you? Irony. I love me some irony. Wordplay. You know, it's like so you, what the process basically is you may start off with a general premise, like, okay, I have to take a bus to work today. Okay. And then I need to come up with an opinion about that. It may be get to meet some nice people on the bus today, so I'm happy about it. Or it's like, I can't believe I'm stuck with these dregs of society on the bus. It's like, whatever direction you want to go, that's your opinion, it's your opinion. And then you start figuring out how to make your opinion fit into one of those funny filters, and that's how you make it funny.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like this adds some science to the art of comedy, and it really helps.
Yeah, it's making people actually think of the funny. Why is it funny? What is like you said, it's adding the science to it rather than just copying a YouTube video and going, well, that person did that. It's figuring out why it's funny and why it works. So yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's definitely on my book list now to order. For those that are watching in the UK as well, I'll just put up a quick link there. That takes you to the Amazon shop front with all the book recommendations, and they're in there as well if you're in the UK. So yeah, fantastic. So what's next for you as you're coming into 2022? You've got your regular show as well. What's your next mountain to climb?
So I did a bunch of shows at a fair in North Carolina this year, and I'm not certain exactly how I feel about doing fairs. There's some things that I enjoyed about it, some things that I'm not so wild about. However, first week of January, I'm going to the Virginia Fair Association conference, and there's 20 or so fairs in Virginia that I'm interested in seeing if I can get booked at. So there's that piece. I'm continuing throughout the state to do what I can to connect with nonprofits, corporate events, other business people. Just from the show at Salesman last Sunday night, there's other conversations that are starting to happen with some corporate things that might happen, and so yeah, it's just gonna that's the work part of this business.
Yeah, that's the bit that people don't see.
That it's like I was on the stage for 60 minutes. You know how many hours it took to make those 60 minutes happen?
Yeah. I must admit, there's so many people that don't see the work that happens, and I think that's why some stage hypnotists struggle, because they aggressively wait for the phone to ring. They sit and stare at their email and expect it to happen when you've got to go out there and you've got to work at it. Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Colin, final comments as such. If you were to give one golden nugget to your younger self, or to any hypnotist that's watching this, or a therapist that's wanting to make the transition to stage, if you were to give one golden nugget, what would it be?
To my younger self, it would be, do not marry that psycho. Actually, seriously, the 5 worst days of my life are what allow me to have the happiness that I have today.
Yeah.
Including that one. What I would tell myself as a new professional hypnotist is do the stage. Do the stage, because the stage feeds the clinical.
Yeah.
It is bizarre to me how that people who have seen me on stage are so super receptive to coming and sharing their most deep, intimate secrets with me, and thinking I'm wanting my help. And it's like, okay, so you realize that I just went out there and was basically, the character I play on stage is I'm a damn fool. Okay. It's like I'm goofing on my dad bod, all right? It's like I'm making people spell words naughty ways, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I think stage hypnosis is one of those things that really does help. I had a moment at a show recently, and I always struggled with the entertainer versus therapist. As a therapist, you have a profound effect on somebody's life. As an entertainer, the laughter fades as they go home. At the end of the show, it wasn't the last show, it was the show before. At the end of the show, a woman's come up to me and gone, "That's the first time my husband has laughed since our son took his life." And it was like, at that moment, it's like, wow. And it's what we do. We take people, we distract them from what's going on in the real world, from coronavirus, from being made redundant at work, from all this stuff that's going on. we may just be entertaining them, but we're distracting them from all that. And that laughter has such a therapeutic process that at that moment, when they need that help, it's you that they're going to turn to. No matter how silly we are on stage, that fact that we can take them from where they are and take them to a place where they can laugh and just be free in that moment. There's something very freeing about that moment that is good. I turned quite woo-woo and spiritual over lockdown for just those moments, if you know what I mean. It's important that we're not just entertainers. The power of what we do is profound.
Absolutely.
Colin, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, if any of you are at HypnoThoughts Live X 2022, hope to see you there. I am going to be one of the presenters there, and I hope to see you guys. And it's been a real honor to get the invite and be able to share my afternoon, your evening together.
Fantastic. Colin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, please do follow his socials, his YouTube. Just follow Colin everywhere that you can. Stalk him.
Yep, stalkers are welcome.
Fantastic. All right, Colin, thank you very much. Take care, brother,
Thanks
and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, will do.